The views and opinions expressed on Lifeguards Off Duty are those of its hosts and guests exclusively. They do not represent any entity, organization, or municipality.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Michael Katchmar.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Sean.
And this is Lifeguards Off Duty with Dr. Michael Katchmar, the Jersey Shore #1 lifeguard-themed video podcast.
Watch us on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook Live. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever streaming service you prefer.
If you would like to contact us, send an email to drkatchmar@icloud.com. Follow us on Instagram at lg.association.
All right, let's get started.
Let's start the show.
Let's do it.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Michael Katchmar. Welcome to Lifeguards Off Duty. Today's date is January the 18th, the year of our Lord, 2022.
Yes, sir.
And thank you for tuning in. We're live today on, we're actually on YouTube and Facebook, but today is our first day on Rumble. We're
Hopefully
live on
working.
Rumble.
We tried troubleshooting it earlier.
Yeah, well, we hopefully we're on Twitch and Twitter. And if you want to contact us, we do have an email, which is drkatchmar at icloud.com. And
I got to do that.
Yeah, put that up there. Tyler,
I'm Sean today.
Yeah, Tyler's working the computer. And
That's me.
you guys, we're a live chat, so you could send us a chat. Also, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button, so when we do go live, you could hear us.
Check out the Instagram, lg.association.
Yeah.
So
So
where we post the fun stuff and not these boring conversations.
yes.
Where we have to
So
listen to Katchmar speak.
yeah. So Tyler, this is Tyler. We have a guest today, and
We have a guest and a guest host.
we have a guest host. So let's say hello to our guest host.
Hi.
Introduce yourself, guest host.
Name's Adam.
Adam.
I was a
Just
host.
look right
I was a
into the
host.
camera.
Yeah, so he's a guest host.
I was a host a few episodes.
Hostess with the
or-
most.
You were a
Yes,
guest.
I
You were a
guessed
guest a few episodes ago. You've
Thank
been
you.
upgraded. You've been
I have.
promoted.
I know. I'm working
Right.
my way up the ladder.
And you're also our de facto marketing director.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Is
And
that an official title? Can I get that in writing?
Oh, you're gonna put us on the spot live like that?
Yeah,
I don't
I've
know.
been waiting weeks. To
You're
get
not
back
gonna
on the
get paid.
podcast, so I can.
you're not going to get paid.
I
so
wasn't
don't worry
asking
about
for
it.
that. I want the title.
You're not going to get paid.
I
So-
told you we have to have a board meeting.
So we have, and our guest today, I've known him for many, many years, and he's the captain right now of the Island Beach State Park, and he's been there for quite a few years. He's going to tell us, how long he's been there. My hair is all messed up. And so without further ado, welcome, Chip. And so Chip, just if you could give us a little bit of a history, like we were talking about a little bit before, where you started, what got you into lifeguarding, it's like where you started, where you got, and then how you drifted down to Island Beach, and how you became the chief, the captain, the Catanio. So anyway, so when, how did it all start?
I guess it started in '77, I think it was. I had tried out for Lavalette. Interestingly enough, I mentioned prior to us coming on the air, I actually tried out at
Seaside Heights.
That was a Friday night test.
How cold was the water when you
it
took it? It was
was-
probably June, right?
No, it was May. was May.
Ooh, oh
It
man!
was.
Did you
think
like
that-
put all Vaseline all over you?
No.
That's
no,
what I
no.
did when I took
Yeah.
the test. But go ahead. So
No, barebacked it, and so I got that position. That was a Friday night. I had gone home, and my mother talked me into trying out at Lavalette the next day, and I got offered that position. And my mother's actually the one that kind of pushed me to Lavalette because she wanted me to have an extra day off to help her.
yeah, just to
So
let these
yeah.
young kids know
So
there was no
back-
days off in
yeah, back
Seaside
in the
Heights.
day, there were no days off, right? So that was the thing. And then in Lavalette, you had one day off, but some weeks you didn't get that, depending upon how busy we
How
were.
busy it
But
was,
you were
yeah.
supposed to have one day.
Where'd you grow up? Were you always a waterman?
Actually, I grew up in Brick. It depends on who you ask whether or not I'm a true waterman. I wasn't a swimmer, a competitive swimmer, but I'd grown up on the beach and swimming and so on. So we would always take our bikes right up to the beach, go surfing and that kind of thing. So I
Okay.
grew up on the beach. So it was kind of a natural progression.
But what made you go into lifeguarding? So
I just love the water. Anything
Is
in
it-
the water. I'm skiing, water. Any water sport.
how old were you? How old were you at that point? Like,
I
where
think
were
I
you?
was what 17, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. Yes, like I said, we talk about our moms. Yeah,
Yeah.
my dad. I remember my dad. Like, at least he got a job. So
Yeah,
that was
you
good.
kind of, your mother kind of
Yeah, at
told you what to
17.
do.
Yeah.
How
If you wanted to keep your car, you kind of had to do what you need to do.
how many years did you work in Lavalette before moving to
I
Island Beach?
was in Lavalette until I think it was 88.
Okay.
So I'd worked there, 10 or 11 years. Then there were some administrative changes. I left there. There were about 5 of us that left at the time. We were, I guess, 2 of us were lieutenants, myself and Joe. We left and went to Island Beach. We had known Jimmy Hanshu, who was the captain at the time.
At the time, yeah.
Yeah, he had, from competition and competing against each other and so on. So Joe gave him a call and said he had a couple of guys that were interested in coming down. And the rest is kind of history, I guess.
So you worked there, and what year did you become captain?
I think the first year I worked there, I sat the wood, which is something I always try to instill in the younger guys. Like, you can't have an ego in lifeguarding, So I went from being a lieutenant by choice and going to Island Beach to sit the wood.
Right.
So I sat there. I think it was a year or two. I became a sergeant.
So you had to work your way up. So
yeah,
you got,
and
but
then-
you weren't a lieutenant anymore. So yeah. So
right.
okay,
So,
I got you.
So I went from that to sergeant to lieutenant. I was the South Beach lieutenant. Joe was there at the time for a while. And then I think it was 2005, Jimmy retired from lifeguarding full time.
2005. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
He was became a school administrator. So summers were kind of,
So you took over then,
I
2005.
took over for that. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
So
How was the transition from like going from one beach patrol, especially being like a lieutenant where you have that like responsibility and like seniority,
yeah,
like going to like a new one where they have a completely different like
I
procedure, essentially?
I think it was a little bit of an adjustment in terms of the actual procedures.
Mhm.
A lot of the things are similar. I think it was more about just saying, listen, I understand the role. When I was lieutenant, I expected people to fall in line and do what they needed to do. So for me personally, it was a pretty easy transition that way. And Jimmy was a good captain, and I think we were all pretty loyal to him. So
I want to throw one thing out. So I drifted over there with everybody.
Yeah.
I was still working at Seaside Heights, but I was working and training and did some competition with Lavalette. So of course, when I went to State Park, Jimmy Hanshu was very accommodative. And one thing I remember about that place. Now you got to remember, this is back in State Park,
Okay.
right? They had air conditioned locker rooms.
Whoa.
Right? I mean, it was,
What?
especially in August when it's hot, like
Bugs.
Seaside Heights didn't have that.
We can get
Lavalette-
our AC working.
I mean, the locker rooms, and actually we took showers, they were air conditioned, and I'm telling you, when some of those hot days, I remember I was like, this place is great. It's like, right,
I'll
Chip?
tell you what, you felt like you were going, because at Lavalette you had outside shower, like
Yeah.
at a house, and
Yeah.
one bathroom for everyone,
Yeah.
one stall. It was
one
just a
stall.
door with a commode. The facilities you can't beat. I mean,
No.
locker room, every guy has his own locker, showers,
Beautiful.
racks,
And I think the locker rooms were,
male.
male and female.
Yeah.
So think about that.
It took me 3 years to earn a locker in Seaside. Even then I got, I got made fun of like, oh, Brzezinski, you're a 3-year. Like, wait, you're taking a locker. I'm like, there's 4 available. And and everyone above me has a locker. And they're like, I don't know.
It really is a big deal when
No,
you get to
we
take
had-
that piece of
it is.
athletic tape, put it on your locker, and write your name.
And I remember he snaked one because him and I shared a locker, and there was like 3 or 4 other open lockers, and they made us share. And I was a 3-year. He was a 2-year.
I have 2 lockers now. I have one on the north end and one on the south end.
You've grown so much.
We expanded with the growth of the females in lifeguarding. We actually had to expand our locker room because for years the females would share. There was only, I think, 6 lockers, and some of them shared it. They had one shower stall. So over the years, we expanded their locker room, and they're about a third of our beach patrol.
My girlfriend and I actually grabbed dinner with one of your former female guards last night, Victoria Alvarez.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vicky, yeah.
She's
Good guard. Good
yeah,
guard.
Me and
She's
my
tough.
girlfriend grabbed dinner with Vicky a couple days ago to celebrate her birthday. So
Yeah.
no, Vicky's a really good friend of us.
Yeah.
So,
She was a tough competitor too. She was tough.
yeah.
Did she compete with you guys in your
Yeah,
tournament? Okay.
yeah.
What were her
Different,
events? Do you remember?
Paddle. I think she did a few rows here and there, but she was a paddler. You know, she was pretty tough. Yeah.
Are the competitions how do you co-ed? Are all the competitions co-ed or
many are? They've moved towards that. When I first started on the beach, they didn't even let the women up when I first started at Lavalette on the ocean. I think my second or third year, there were 2 females that were able to work the ocean, but they had them all on the bay, and over time it just women transitioned.
Yeah.
So with the competition piece, it started as, I think, just basically males. And then every so often you might have a female who was a very good swimmer, a competitive swimmer, could break into the lineup. But over the years, women are doing swim, paddle, row, run.
is that so is that built into the structure of the tournament? Like you have to have X amount of girls on your team for certain tournaments?
On our tournament, it's we moved to that format where you had to have X number of females. Many of the beaches are moving towards that direction, but there are still some that are just let's say gender neutral, if you will.
We had 2 Lavalette guards on a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about some sort of controversy with the Red Bull tournament catch. Is that what they were talking about?
Yeah, I don't remember which one, but they said that they I think it was Red Bull, and they had it set up where you had to have at least one female on the team, and then they kind of fought it, But I don't know what it rolled out. But I can tell you one thing from everybody's perspective. There's some beach patrollers half the beach patrol were women, and it's good. They're very competitive. So, I mean, Lavalette got to be pretty close to half the beach.
A lot of them are
there's a
probably
lot
better
of swimmers
than me.
What's that?
A lot of them are probably better swimmers than me.
Yeah.
Oh, they're tough. A lot of them
That's
Division
not-
One
that's not-
schools.
That's not
One
hard to
thing-
beat, Tyler.
one thing I'll
That's
tell
not,
you
that's
about,
not really saying much.
The women, I think, are more attentive to the details, especially like the focusing on the water piece and so on. Not that the guys aren't, but I just think it's the nature of their psychology. They tend to be a little bit more focused than males. And they're tough. They hold their own.
So on that theme, I wanted to ask you because I was swimming this morning with one of the guys who works out. His name is Dave, and he's a former lifeguard at Federal Park at Sandy Hook. So we're going to try to get him on here. I want to get his perspective on the federal parks and what's different. So I want to ask you. You work for a state. You work for the state park. So what's different from the rules and regulations and how you do things mandated from the state, as opposed to say how Lavalette was or Seaside? I know things are changing, but what's the uniqueness about state park as far as just coming down from the state? The rules and regs are they different than USLA? Do they follow USLA?
No, we follow USLA, and then we have obviously some of the other things that we need to do. State is very big on paperwork.
So give us some ideas,
documentation, things like that. We have actually our dispatch room, radio communications office, and everything goes through that. Whereas I think a lot of the other beaches have to call separately.
Now, when you say dispatch, Chip, so you got somebody who's hired by the state who runs the radio and does the communications.
All communications come through that office. They record everything in terms of entries into the logs and things like that.
Oh,
rescues, emergency calls, and things like that. All are funneled through our dispatch office.
Does that go into a electronic record, or is it paper?
We transitioned a few years back to electronics, so it's all computerized. They record everything on certain forms that we have.
You don't use that Watchman? Is it Watchman or Watchtower?
Watchtower. We're actually looking at that. For us, it has some pros and cons. We record everything already, but the piece that I like about it is the public information piece that you can put out, like certain areas have rip currents or certain areas are closed. That kind of thing is very appealing. Getting information out to the public.
Yeah. So what would be, like you could say, pick out of the sky and say, okay, this is out of different than USLA, what the state requires, or is it more higher level or different than the paperwork?
We follow USLA standards. All of our training protocols are through the USLA and the certification process for USLA. I think our structure, the way we operate, differs from some of the other beaches. In terms of that, you try out for the beach. We run our test at the beginning of the year, at the end of the last weekend in April and the first weekend in May.
Okay.
And then,
So it's early. So you start early.
So it's USLA. It's a 510 in the run. And we also do an interview to make sure that, we get a sense of whether or not they're going to fit with our program. And we try to explain to them exactly what our program is in terms of their training. So once we hire them, they'll start training from that point all the way through to July 4th weekend. They won't sit a stand. They train.
Oh, really?
Entire time.
Now, is that a state or is that just, you guys come up with that?
A little of both.
Oh.
USLA has a requirement in terms of the number of hours. But because of the unique environment we're in, the park itself is 10 miles long. It's a peninsula. So we're surrounded on three sides by water. We have the ocean, the Barnegat Bay, and the inlet. So we're responding to all areas of the park in a variety of terrain, if you will, because it's not all just what you see on the beach. You have thicket, you have brush.
So
Way
let me
different,
let me get this straight. So the rookies, the new people, they don't sit to stand until after July 4th or at July 4th. So they train. So every day they're coming in and they're just training all day long and learning. Wow.
We have a regimented training program that we go through, obviously with the basics and things like that. Right out of the blocks, they'll do a 3.5 mile run every day until they build up, and then we increase it to between 5 and 8. They will run every aspect of the park at some point in their training. So they'll run, one day they do what we call the gate run.
Yeah. I remember those runs.
Run in from the gate.
I just want to say, it's
go to
hot.
the end of the road and they run back. We call it the run home.
You see a fox every once in a while.
There's a
How far is that?
It's like
it depends on the day and where we decide to drop them off.
Okay.
But the run back from the road is about 6. The park is another mile and a half once the road ends to the inlet.
I remember when we were there, we used to go there and we'd have the morning brief and we'd run all the way to Tice's Shoal, I don't know how far from the headquarters back. And then you went all the way back and you're running hard, your sneakers on and everything, running fast. And of course you're trying to, compete against each other and then bang right onto the water.
Right.
And
right up to the water.
Oh,
and then
man.
We started the water training. We start with the road runs to get them going and get the feel of it. But then we transition to soft sand runs on the beach and rescue road. A lot of people don't know there's a road that runs from like 15 down along the backside of the park, along the bay, pops out on an area that used to be called Party Island. Which is at the jetty, and then you run across the jetty. We do a jetty jump with them. We practice jumping off the jetty, make rescues.
Wow.
And then they'll run from there, the jetty back to the road.
Do you, so when I was there, I remember you had this thing, I think it was called the Deathmobile. I mean, maybe I'm, so it was this pickup, it was this truck, like a garbage truck,
like a rack truck,
it was,
an
right,
old rack truck.
And Joe, I remember we're sitting there and I don't know what happened. He's like, we gotta go. And we run down, we run to this, out of the tower, back to the parking lot.
Right.
We get in this truck, we go driving down, and when I never knew how big those dunes are. Like you think it's just like, you're the road and we stopped and we got out, we had to carry the box and everything. We ran. I'm telling you that over the dune, it was probably a half a mile. I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating.
One of the
for off-beach ratio.
Yeah, one of the off-beach. Those are
and
some of those are like have brush.
Well,
and
it's
stuff.
also like
that's got to be tough to get through.
Island Beach is one of the most beautiful places in the world.
I
You walk through one of those fishing trails and you feel like you're on a tropical island.
Yeah.
I drive through that gate. To me, it's heaven.
Yeah. So do you guys, do you guys,
Seaside Heights, my Disney World.
Yeah.
do you guys still have that trip though? Where because the off beaches, I want to hear about it because this is, and that's an unbelievable
So as part
thing.
of their training, for example, we have an off beach day where basically we do that. So off beach is we guard, we actually sit on about a mile. So the stands cover about a mile of the beach. So we respond to emergencies everywhere else in the park. So we have an off beach team that's designated each day. They'll come out of the South Beach. So we get an emergency call somewhere in the park. So certain guards will leave their stand and an officer and EMT run to the truck, jump in the truck, and wherever the emergency is in the park, they respond. So one of the ones you're talking about are those fishing trails. They start at right at the south parking lot, is A2. They're lettered and numbered, and they go all the way down to the end of the road, which would be A23. So, and some of them are some serious hoofing. We call it hoofing. So basically what would happen is if we can't, you can only get the truck on in two places on the south end, and that would be at A7. So you can go on at A7, or you have to go all the way down to the road and then maybe come back or go further to the inlet. So depending upon the water conditions, sometimes the high tide washes out to the dune lines and things like that. The guys have to hoof. So what'll happen is they'll pull up on the road, guys jump out, they'll have whatever they need, medical, the jump bag. We have a jump bag, line box, torps, fins, backboard, collars, the whole bit. And then they have to hoof the trails.
And it's hot back there.
And then make a rescue.
Now, do you at the same time, do you guys launch a jet ski at all?
It depends on the scenario and what it is. The jet ski will go, that'll a team from North Beach, 2 or 3 guys will man the jet ski and they'll go. Depending on the scenario, but it gets crazy down there. It gets
There's just so much more to account for when you're watching. What is it, 10 miles of beach?
Yeah.
Now, are you guys only directly responsible for the swimming beaches?
Right. We're responsible for the bathing area, the swimming area. That's our priority. That's the house. So that's our main focus. But we respond to other areas. Someone's in distress, we have the ability to respond. And you have to remember the nearest help for us, the nearest support, like an ambulance, is 5.5 miles away.
Yeah, that could take
Triborough,
that could take a half hour on a busy day.
Well,
Some traffic.
A few years back, we had a gentleman who broke his neck, and the island was bad, and the ambulance calls, were going crazy. We had a gentleman with a broken neck he was with us for, it was well over an hour and 45 minutes, I think. It was something like
before
that. So,
they get him out.
Get down to us to get him out.
Yeah, that was one of those. You had probably one of those Taisha Shoal parties there, right? And it was probably a crazy weekend.
Yeah.
I want to talk about those.
Before you get, well, I wanted to, so with the inlet, so you got the bay, the inlet and the ocean. So do you have any mutual aid help? Like, so in other words, if somebody's in the inlet or something, I think you told me you had rescues here, but you guys don't have a boat. Like, have a jet ski.
We have the jet ski.
Do you ever take the jet ski, like say there's something down and you put the jet ski on a sled? I mean, not a sled, a trailer, and take it down? Like, or do you get Coast Guard?
Early on, back in 80, I think it was 89. We were one of the first beach patrols to actually start utilizing, at least that I know of on the East Coast. It was jet skis.
Yeah, I remember when Handshoe came up, he got it with the sled. He was so happy. He drove it all the way up to the seaside to show me.
We went up. Well, we went up and we trained a few beaches. I was with him that day.
Yeah.
We drove up to train a few.
Do you remember
beaches.
when you guys? Do you remember I was swimming with that kid who was drowning? Do you remember that?
He said, "If you drown, I'm going to kill you."
This is great. This is got to hear the story. This is because he's amazing. So they come up, right? We had this rookie. He was such a piss poor swimmer, and we're working out. I'm making him swim out,
We
and
were
I had
pretty far out.
And I had the rope. I had the can, and I'd let him swim, or maybe I had the can. And we're swimming out, right? And so, because I figured, God forbid, and we got out there, and we were going to go back in. He was struggling, and these guys pull up and like, oh yeah, so we're talking. I take the thing for a ride. It's like really great because we didn't have a sled at that time. They were the first ones to get a sled. And so what happened was I'm talking to the kid and I was like, go back in. Right. And he goes, like, can I have the can? I go, no. And I go, and he goes, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I go, if you don't make it, you're going to be fired.
It's literally your job. It's your job to make it.
It's
Yeah.
It's your job.
And you know I say that, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, they
So
work
that's-
they
that's
work
all
with
true.
me.
That's all true.
So go ahead.
Just to give the rookie a little credit here, we were pretty far out. So.
A couple buoy lines.
Yeah,
A
I think he
couple-
was. I think he
You
made
couldn't
it
have
in.
given him a ride back in with the sled.
No, no, no,
So
no.
when you guys first started introducing these jet skis into lifeguarding, I'm assuming there was no protocol for how to use it.
Right.
So
right.
what was
So
that process
I
like?
think that's again one of the things that's unique to us in terms of that. Like I don't know, do you guys have a manual? I would assume some kind of training manual or whatever.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. No, we do. Yeah, we
Ours
follow.
is
Yeah.
100.
It's all in here.
All right. Well, ours
Our-
is what's it? 119 pages long
For the
So-
jet ski.
For
for the-
no.
Oh, I was gonna say that's a lot.
Every- that's a
I was
lot,
like,
literally.
holy shit.
Here's your first homework
here's-
assignment, rookie.
Here's
We're
how
done
to
with the
polish
jets.
it.
I would expect that length. I would expect
All right,
that length
all
of
right.
like a Van Dyne.
I'd be
So
like, no.
was that
So-
like a trial and error kind of process,
Yeah,
figuring out
so
how to make a
we,
rescue with that?
We did a couple of things at the time. We trial and error. We came up with what we were thinking worked, and then we sent one of our guards, one of our sergeants, out to a training with, I think it was called P21 or something. The woman who ran the training program, trained big wave surf jet
Hawaii.
skis,
That
drivers.
That
Yeah.
shit is next level.
Yeah,
that's
seriously.
terrifying.
Yeah.
So
Oh my
she trained him. She went through our protocols, what we thought worked, and we were. I want to say we were on the right train. We probably got off a station or two early, so she gave us some things to think about, some things to tweak, and that's kind of where it evolved.
Yeah,
so
they're great. They're great. I
Yeah.
mean, we've used them for rescues, very
Yeah.
effectively.
yeah, you can't
So-
in heavy surf you can't beat it.
No. So let me
Let's check this out. Hold on, I gotta.
What?
So we got
So in surfing,
these are surfers getting towed into waves. These aren't even.
Is this
see,
his Nazarene?
see,
This
is Nazar. Yeah, this is Nazar.
Is it?
Yeah.
Nazar?
How do we say that? Is it Nazare or Nazar? Does anybody actually know?
I think it's pronounced Nazare, but
But what's crazy?
Don't take my
But
word
it is a
on
jet
These waves
skis.
aren't even that big.
Yeah, those
for
are that's
what
like a
you'll see
mile
with this
down.
stuff. And just the timing of it. Like this wave's about to break on this guy's head, and he's sitting on the inside. Oh my god.
there's one.
Oh my god.
Get out of here.
There's one where I forget which
And
one.
he just gets swallowed
There's
by
like
the.
5 or 6
that's
jet skis. They're all
Right.
inside, and
Right.
you see this monster coming on the horizon, and it's a drone shot, and all of a
Right.
sudden you see all of the jet skis taking off to head
Yeah.
out,
yeah.
and they go over, and one doesn't make it.
he made it.
comes back.
He made it.
Yeah, he made it out of there.
Yeah.
Right
Oh
there.
my
Well,
god.
I've seen some wipeouts
Right.
with these
They-
where the jet ski goes over the falls.
They
I
s-
mean,
they say that being like the jet ski like rescuer like with these surfers is more dangerous than being the surfer by
Yeah.
far. Like
Yeah.
it's
The
I mean,
only-
we know how much those things
the jet
weigh.
skis are great in heavy surf and for multiples.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I-
haven't
I
had a
love-
jet ski rescue for a while.
I
but-
love the jet ski.
Yeah, but
the
we-
jet ski is my is like the most
but-
favorite thing to do.
But we've used them over the years. I mean, Doug Parise, who was, I remember he used it very successfully, and Al, but we used it without the sled, very
Mhm.
successful. But now it's a little bit different. We do have it, and we do off beaches with it. But let me get.
So
I want.
how would you do a rescue without a sled on a jet ski?
you just pick the person up and
Just
throw them?
'em-
Yeah,
If they're-
yeah,
if they're
yeah,
conscious.
Hold
Yeah.
on.
If they're conscious, yeah.
Okay, so what if they're
Thing-
unconscious?
Yeah, if
Well,
they're
we-
unconscious, the sled comes in.
Right, right,
handy.
right,
You
right.
get
That's
'em
what
up
we have a
there,
sled now.
Multiple.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we have 2 jet skis and 2 with sleds, So, but I want to forget before I forget this. So, how do you guys handle a jet, like an inlet? Somebody falls off, a fisherman gets swamped, whatever, falls off the jetty. Like, how do you guys respond to that? I mean, you don't have a boat. There's traffic going in and out.
Yeah,
What
the
do you call
truck-
Coast Guard or like
the
what?
truck goes, Coast Guard will dispatch. So we've had some mutual aids with the Coast Guard.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It depends on the scenario, but the truck is definitely going. It'll have 4 guys on it, and that's part of the training and why we spend so much. We were talking about the training. It is so unique of what could happen and what they're going to face. So every guard has to be able to handle those situations. So when they get on the truck, and that's probably the hardest thing about it. Obviously, you get your little adrenaline shot because you're excited. But
yeah.
you don't know when you're sitting on the stand. You see things develop. You see things how it unfolds.
Yeah, when
a
it's an off beach,
sandbar,
you don't
right.
have the time to do the calculations. 'Cause
Right.
You're not
So in your
watching it
head,
develop.
you're running
Right.
what the possible scenario is. The radio, we're getting information over radio and talking about what we may face and how to handle it. But in those scenarios, the jet ski would follow, but the truck,
Communication.
the truck with the communication and so on. The truck will usually beat the jet ski, believe it or not. The jet ski does about 55, 60. But
we were testing it. I remember back in the day because we just got that. And it was like, see who could beat who.
Yeah, but Southeast chop, which is our predominant, and you're hitting that pretty hard. So the guys on the jet skis get banged up.
Do you guys?
Let me, Tyler. Again, I want to just want to say with this thing because I want to because this is really I want to give him an accolade real quick, not real quick, but you guys have VHF radios, and I know that. So I want to give you this. I remember how professional because VHF radios are important if you're going to be dealing with the boat traffic. And there was I don't know if you remember, it was a tragedy. A guy came down with his autistic child. And he drowned. Yeah. So I happened to be, it was off beach, not, protected area. I noticed because I was out there with my father, we were fishing and I have VHF radio. So VHF radio is what you have in all the boats. And so I hear this going on. I don't know who was on the radio that day, but it was so damn professional. So they were interfacing with the Coast Guard. And basically at this time it was a recovery. You guys found the body in about 2 hours, I remember. And, but I was so impressed the verbiage, the calmness, the professionalism was really good. Yeah. It really, I sat there and go, man, these guys were right up there with the Coast Guard because the Coast Guard's, very professional and they're highly trained. And you guys, you remember that? I mean,
yeah, we remember that. That was 8-4 is where that went down.
Yeah. Now when, because like you have to know going into every summer that's a distinct possibility that someone drowns off beach. Is that part of how you prepare your guards? Like this might happen?
We talk about it. One of the things in the training process, we spend some time talking about the inevitability of what we do. We may be dealing with a situation where someone passes or we're doing, we spend a lot of time on our recovery, submerged victim drills and so on. So but some of them, when you've been around a while, you kind of, just maturity, I guess. But for some of the youngsters, so we also have what we call critical incident debriefing. So that might be one of the things that the state we put together a few years ago. Well, now it's more than that, but 15 years ago, I think maybe even 20.
Yeah.
Where we will have someone come in and speak with, like a counselor, come in and speak with, some of the guards who.
And now that's similar to like a case where if a police officer has to discharge his weapon, right?
Right.
To follow that question up, holy shit, I forgot what I was going to ask.
Yeah, well, you're out. That's it. You lost your turn. So now I get. So I got. So now. Oh, I'm right. I held my hand. Hey, it's me. So Chip. So Chip, with the we've been talking about that. Obviously, for people out there who are listening, we're not just putting suntan lotion and looking, at the waves. This is a serious job. What with
I
regard?
remembered my question.
Okay, well, hold it because you had lost your space.
You're gonna make me forget it again.
No. Write it down. I got to get you a pad. But with the we've been talking about the young kids, and this kind of dovetails into that. So you don't have anybody until July. The young kids. Theoretically, and rookie is going to be young, but do you manage or do anything different with the 16 to 17-year-old kids as far as, what kind of exposure or, you try to, is there, what does the state recommend?
I think it's exposure to what? Like just the training piece?
Well, let me ask you, I'll go back. Do you guys have a junior lifeguard program?
We don't necessarily have a junior. Actually, we'd like to develop that. But one of the things that kind of hampers some of the things that we do is, again, it's not like we're a town where you have stores and shops and
that's a good
go
point.
For lunch.
Yeah.
You come in the park for the day or half a day or whatever.
That's a good point.
That's
a good point. I didn't think about that.
Obviously we have our regulars, but we also have a large for lack of a better expression, transient population, vacationers that
Right.
have come in. They're staying for the weekend. They're staying for a few days. We have a huge international crowd, which presents some issues,
Yeah.
communication issues. So to answer your question with training the younger ones, and even some of the 2-3s, we spend a lot of time talking about that. Dealing with different issues and things like that. So they all go through the same training. But with the younger ones, we talk about some of the serious aspects of the job, and we just kind of consistently talk to them. If they're involved in a critical incident where someone passes or they submersion, recovery, we also instituted, going back years, anyone who's under, actually we do it for even some of the older guys, but we'll call their families. So we'll call their families, like if it's
Let them.
16-year-old
That's a
kid,
good idea. That's
17-year-old,
Wow.
call their
talk to 'em.
family
Yeah,
and say,
yeah.
listen,
It was involved in this
That-
situation.
I-
We do
right.
that. Some.
I
Yeah.
think the psychology behind what we do is really understated.
right. I
Uh,
would agree.
and
Yeah.
two things. So you gave me a thought, and when you were talking about the transient nature of your beachgoers, I think a lot of New Jersey beaches can be broken down into like one of two categories. Like one is very touristy, a lot like us, Point Pleasant. I bet
Day
Asbury's like
trippers,
that,
day
no way,
trippers,
day
or-
trippers.
or-
And then you have like the really local beaches, and they can kind of the styles of lifeguarding that
So different.
Yeah, I
emerge
think-
from that can really diverge into other directions. But the question I remembered, so you have it worked into like your thought process when you're training a kid, this might happen, right? This kind of off duty tragedy, or off beach tragedy. Like, how do you say, things are going down on the bathing beaches, but also you get a call about something happening off beach? Like, what's the protocol for that? Do you have it pre-planned, like how many people you can peel off and go?
Yes, there's a procedure. The house is the most important, so we never strip down the house, but we'll have the initial.
So just so the audience knows, when you say the house,
That's
I know
our
what you
beach.
mean, but
I'm
but what-
sorry.
so give it-
our guarded area.
right, where the
guarded
lifeguard
area.
stands are,
Right.
where it says this is where the lifeguards are, this is where you
Right.
swim. So it's a designated swimming area.
Right. And so with the other 9 miles, there are people who choose to go in the water, unfortunately, and get in trouble. So if we have a situation where the initial group goes, and it's usually 4, sometimes 5 guys on the truck, the officer in charge, when they get down there, will make a decision on whether or not they need additional support. And if that occurs, then we have a second wave that will come down from the other half of the beach. So the bathing beach is never left unprotected. It does get a little difficult on some days where the water's kicking pretty bad and we are crowded because our park closes, and people think some people think it's the number of people, and it's really not. They go by parking spaces.
So it could be as many
So what
people
kind of
can
numbers-
fit into those cars.
What kind of numbers?
essentially.
So what
They
kind of numbers do you think
Pack them in.
Yeah.
On a weekend, we'll have 10,000 people on the bathing beach.
on the bathing? But what about the
Yeah.
whole
The
That's
whole
like what we're
park.
the whole
dealing with.
park?
Well, you figure, I don't know. I couldn't even
30,000.
guess.
Yeah,
I can tell you, if you go down there on 4th of July weekend and it's a good weekend weather-wise,
right.
you can walk from A7, which is 1.5 miles, a little over 1.5 miles from the bathing beach, the end of the bathing beach. You can walk from there all the way down to the inlet on the tops of trucks.
Yeah, so
don't
it's just
even-
lined up because these
Yeah.
people.
Wow.
Well,
Jeez.
right.
And you figure
Right.
those people come and they pack their trucks,
Yeah.
and they have,
And these are just people
Incredible.
pulling onto the beach in their trucks.
and they're supposed to
amazing.
be. We sell how you drive on the beach is we sell a mobile sport fishing pass. And there's a certain requirement. You have to have 4-wheel drive. There's a list of equipment.
You have like
to
a
have on your
shovel in the
truck,
back,
all of
Fishing
right.
these
poles
things.
and everything.
So you buy that pass, but that pass is really for you to get on the beach to fish. But there are a lot of non-fishing
right,
people
right,
who
right.
buy
So-
those.
so
Who
let me-
fulfill those requirements, but don't
Yeah.
fish. And,
Right.
And the Rangers,
Going.
the police, and that tells you how long I've been there. They used to call them Rangers,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the police will ticket them and
Right.
so on.
So they're not rangers.
They're
They're
police.
park police, right?
Yeah, state
Okay,
park
okay,
police. They
okay.
just same
Right. Right.
privileges that Seaside Heights police have
Okay.
or any other
So
police.
Chip, with when you talk about the house, So I can see how you got to, go down and take care of stuff on the other beaches that are not your house, and then you could limit your resources. What's the state's position on that? So in other words, where the lifeguards are, that's protected lifeguarded beach.
Mhm.
The other areas is it like swim at your own risk, or like what was there a
There's,
sign?
you
You
should
can't-
know this. There is no such thing as swim at your own risk.
But what's
in
the state? What's the state of New Jersey say
There is
then?
no such thing as
Okay.
swim at your own risk in the
Okay.
state of New Jersey.
Okay, so
The idea is that these are unguarded areas, and they're all marked, every single path.
What do they say,
there are big
unguarded?
signs, unguarded, no swimming.
okay.
So that's if you're asking me what the position is, that's
No, I
How
just
do
want to
you
know.
deal,
Right.
A surfer that decides to paddle out on one of the unguarded beaches.
we allow surfing in certain areas down
Uh-huh.
there, and the surfers actually in some cases have made rescues. If you're a surfer, you know
Yeah.
that you've probably pulled people out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but there's also the distinction between it's swimming, so you have issues with the fishermen. I mean,
So-
surfing.
Yeah,
is
Like,
swimming,
I'm
all
sure
these
that-
I'm sure.
conflicting user
Right.
groups.
So
Mhm.
the people we don't have a map of it, but when I was there, the
I
two
could
the
get
two north and south beaches were very close. They were contiguous. They basically
Connected.
connected. But then you opened up another beach south,
Right, A7.
which is
And
Tice.
that-
How far
Tice's
away is
Shoal.
that? So how far away is that from your
That's
main?
a little over a mile and a half from our southern bathing beach, the last guarded beach, if you will, on the main beach.
So yeah.
we opened that area up just because of the number of responses we had to that area. Years ago, they put in a wooden walkway,
Right.
and it went from the ocean beach, the water, all the way out to the bay. And that was for handicapped access, so that people who are physically challenged or
right,
disabled
right,
had
right.
an easy access to the beaches areas
Mhm.
for fishing. Like anything, it grows in popularity and different user groups take over.
It got
So-
crazy.
So it began, we were down there constantly making rescues, first aids. I mean, not every call we get is a water related issue.
Yeah.
So,
So here I have a map pulled up
yeah.
of Island Beach State Park.
So does it
yeah.
show the
So
south?
the swimming area that they're showing there is at A7. It's
It's hard to
It's
see. So the
about-
one on the
yeah, right
left, Island
here.
Beach Day Beach, and then you have the southern part,
right.
and that's a mile and a
So-
half away.
Right. So the one on the left is the main swimming areas with the big parking lots. And then you have the southern swimming area, which is opposite Tice's Shoal, A7, if you will, in terms of path numbers.
Now I know some crazy stuff goes down on Ticey Shoal.
Yeah.
But-
so
but-
that's one of the
so
reasons why years ago, we had a call. We call it off beach, where the guys
Right.
jump in the truck and go down there. I happened
Right.
to be on the truck that day. We went. It was about 1:00 in the afternoon, and we were there until almost 9:00 at night. And every conceivable thing you can imagine, other than a submersion, we had broken necks, we had cardiacs, broken arms,
Wow.
legs,
Jeez.
cuts, passed
They're
out.
all
people
drinking.
passed
They're all
out.
drinking. How many
So on
boats?
a- on a
how many
day-
boats would you have in that? So Tice's Shoal is on the bay,
Yeah.
and it's people come with their boats. They didn't come into the island,
Right.
Through the road. They
Right.
didn't come with cars or
But
trucks. So this is
it gets
and
kinda
what
out of
and how
control.
many?
Here
We're
we
going to
have
show
a-
that in a minute. But how many boats would you say when they
On a
have?
weekend, a nice weekend, thousands.
Yeah, and I've been
It's
there.
just-
It's crazy. Yeah.
It gets crazy.
So-
And so we needed to have some type of situation where, we couldn't constantly keep,
Sending people down. You got
Right.
your houses.
So,
you got to guard your
right.
house.
So-
right.
and so what we did is we wrote a proposal to actually have guards sit down there. And, from my perspective, in terms of the water safety piece, it's helped tremendously.
But the guards on the southern section, they deal with the ocean, not necessarily Tice's Shoal.
Not
They're on
necessarily.
call to Tice's Shoal. if it
We're on
goes
call.
down.
Right. We're on call. And
Right.
actually the guards that are up on the ocean really wouldn't be the ones who respond. It would be the rescue truck with
Okay.
the equipment.
Yeah, because you got again, it's interesting. That's because you can't see them.
Right.
They're a mile. I didn't
Right.
realize it was that far away. So that could be a real hassle.
Let's
You wanna
let's show
take a
this
look?
video. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
this
this
is
is-
this is Bay Bash. So this is before what they now call
Flocella.
Flocella.
Yeah. This
So let me
dates-
explain how I see Flocella, because I have never seen anything this crazy in my life. I went there for the first time about 2 years ago, and I'd heard about it. One of my friends was like, "We're going to Flocella." I was like, "You're going to what?" They're like, "It's a festival on the water." I'm like, "No way." And what's crazy is it's not organized by anybody.
Right.
It's just people just show up, but it's kind of like
Don't
every
they have
weekend
like a
this.
pontoon boat that like plays music or something like that?
Well, they all play
Dude, they have
music.
a
No, but
a
they have-
pontoon boat with
yeah.
it. They have a yacht with a DJ. They have a guy with a pizza oven on a boat buzzing around.
and
getting
the
pizza.
guy with the kayak
Right.
paddles around and delivers pizza to
Right.
people. For
Yeah,
cash.
I-
He went by me with a whole stack, and I was just like, I'm in the water. I'm like, I would give this guy.
Oh,
You got,
we
you
were
got
in
the
there
volume.
for
You got the
pizza.
volume off on. You got the volume off on. You want to put
That's
the volume on?
yeah. We were in there. We were in here one time, and some lady was pushing around on a paddleboard, and I gave her a boost, and she fell off, and she was so mad at me. She's like, "I have a full face of makeup on." Like, what are you doing? What are you doing water sports with a full face of makeup?
Look at that! Look at that fat guy.
So the situation here is we get called down here and they'll say, that particular day it was like this. And they said someone is passed out in the water.
Can you put him on the bottom?
So
Yeah, he's on there.
where are you,
Okay,
where are you
Where you
finding
at?
that?
Yeah, like,
Right,
how do you
like-
even look? There's the
Or-
DJ.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or-
Oh, there's a cop. This is a band playing.
That's what I thought it was. It was like a couple pontoon boats, like all tied together to make a stage. And
So-
then there's like a band.
How do you locate a pro? Do they say,
Yeah, well,
"Oh,
that's-
he's by the DJ boat"?
that's the
'Cause that's how
problem.
we find each
Yeah.
other out
Yeah,
there.
that's
Oh,
that's the
there's
problem.
kites.
There's the calls we get. It's like we're on the white boat with the blue bin top.
Well, I
It's
heard.
like
What I
every
heard.
boat
I
there.
heard.
They're all giving me
did-
exact
did they-
coordinates.
Right.
Wasn't there talk about
So-
because I'm with the Coast Guard Auxiliary, and I remember there was talk a couple years ago about going there and setting up a grid,
We
setting
did.
up
We
booth.
did.
So
We
you did
did.
that finally.
So as a
that's what
result
happened.
of some of the situations like this a few years back, in coordination with the Ocean County Sheriff Department, the Marine Police, the parks,
Right,
park
right,
police,
right,
Berkeley, because
right.
we're actually in Berkeley's town, I guess town line. So we coordinated and we set up a pretty good way to handle this
the situation.
situations.
Yeah. So now you got a
Um,
grid situation.
Yeah, so there's a
So-
gridded situation. There's a clear pathway that's kept all the way out from the dock where we go.
So you have
where we
access
do that.
now.
Yeah.
So like we do on the beach when we put the cones out and everything.
Right.
These are some pictures of all the boats you'll see. It gets more crowded than
You
this.
can't. Yeah. You
Yeah,
can't.
Can't
I
appreciate
feel,
it.
And that
like,
was-
I feel like you almost need like a
Listen, but here's the
satellite-
thing,
like a
though.
satellite photo.
Here's the thing. Even on a regular weekend, it's packed down here. I mean, it's not just that. I mean, I'd say there's a good 400 boats on an average
Right.
day.
So one of the things in terms of getting that swimming area going down there, the southern swimming area, was, I wrote a report and we actually went down there on different days and we took pictures and video
Right.
and
Right.
and so on, and we made what I thought was a well written proposal. And we had some the superintendent was very supportive of it, and
Right.
and the regional superintendent.
right.
So, the hierarchy and going up the chain. And one of I think the unique things, or I don't want to say a disadvantage, but in municipal towns, they're right there, so they can see it. You could
But the state
call
is
the mayor
trend.
or whoever,
Yeah.
the business
Right, they
administrator,
see it.
whoever,
Right,
the police
right.
chief,
They
and
don't
say
see
come
it.
down and see it. So geographically, we're on the opposite side of the state. So it took a little while to get it in place, but as it went up the chain, so to speak, everyone was
Yeah.
very supportive.
So what I see there, because I've been there a few times, it's not just that your issues are on the bay side.
Mhm.
What is those people in the boat? They wade in, they got little dinghies, they go over that boardwalk and they go on the beach.
Right.
So now that beach is packed. So are there days where that beach is more packed than like your other beaches, or
No,
equal?
I don't. I wouldn't say more packed. It's a
But-
smaller area, so the bathing beach gets
Way
we get-
more. But
yeah,
that place
yeah,
gets a
but
lot of people from the
it
boats
does,
go
it
over
does.
there.
And it's a small area. It's a much smaller area. It's confined. What do we have? 3 stands down there, and we'll set up. I think most of the time we set up 2. Because as you move away from the path, there's fewer people. So we try to keep them a little more contained.
Yeah.
So
They don't limit how many people could go there. They just
no. And it's reasonable. It's what they call a walk-in fee. It's a couple of dollars per person, or you can buy a season pass. And I don't know what the prices are this year, but your season pass can get like 5 people.
That's a great thing, because if you live in Bayville or Ocean Gate, you could get in a boat, go across.
Right.
Don't have to worry about the traffic.
Well,
and then go in. And if the park's closed, and anchor up there, you could get close enough and walk in.
Regardless of any of that, it's cheaper to go to Island Beach for just the day than pretty much anywhere in the state.
I agree.
It's
And I guess the
$6
people,
for your car or something.
it's easy for me to say because I work there, but I guess people paying sometimes don't agree with the fees. But if you really think about it, you have a decent, my SUV, you put, 10 people in it and drive in.
What's the fee for
you
a
come to
car
our
now?
beach, it's like what, like
I think
$10
$10
at least.
$10 for a car,
and we're charging $10 per
Out of
person.
state is 20.
Right.
Okay.
And
I ran into that problem.
And the other thing is, if you buy a park pass, like a state park pass, you can get in any park in the state. So it's
really?
It's
Oh,
an
wow.
annual pass, and you can get in any park.
How much is that?
So
How much is that?
You're asking me questions.
No, you don't know.
I don't know what the
Yeah.
fees are this year.
That's great.
I
That's
don't know
great.
what the fees are.
That's I've been down there. I think it's great, but that's a real challenge for you guys, because now do they have festivals there just once a year or once during
They
the
have
summer?
they run
But they
different
different things?
Different things. We in the fall we start Memorial Day weekend. We start guarding, but we'll have guys around setting up right after the swim test, basically. But in 93, up until 93, we didn't guard Memorial Day weekend. But there was some bad water. There was an issue where someone drowned. And so, again, they thought it was,
To
prudent.
start. So, and how far do you
most
go?
of the beaches, most of the towns either followed suit or soon after started guarding.
And how far do you go on the other end
We
into September? When do you guys officially?
The last day of September.
Oh, so you go to the end of September?
Yeah.
Is that every day or your
Every
weekends?
day.
Oh, really?
Well,
So
3 or 4 days a week, depending on the weather. Usually it's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And we'll have a skeleton crew.
Oh, wow.
On any other days.
So having said that, I wanted to ask you about this, because I know, like we were talking about it back in the day, we used to, when you took the test, there was probably 20 guys, back in the 70s. Now it's hard to get lifeguards, and, and also the pay and everything. So like all the beaches now, even though we're not at this point, because we're seasonal, not have to go with the minimum wage. I think the minimum wage now is $13. I'm not sure.
Isn't it
It just went up.
It's going up.
I started
But-
at like 8.15.
$8.75.
No, but
Like
I'm just saying. But what? So what do you guys?
you guys are getting paid by the day, right? When you started.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no, I was making. I started. I think you're gonna laugh. It was
About $15, $20 a day.
two
something like that.
something. Yeah. it was
Yeah.
Do something an hour.
Yeah, 210
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something
no.
like that.
But for
That's
now,
amazing.
like, what is the state doing? Like, because everything, because the state, they have these new laws about how much you got to pay. So
Right.
so do
I
they
think-
they come down and like set, a state, what's the word I want to use? Like a lot of beaches, we don't have to follow the state mandate right now. No, it's 15, it's 13 now, 14 next year, and 15 the following, for like, say, if
think-
you own a 7-Eleven or something. So what are you guys doing? Like, what's the?
I think we're incrementally moving up as well. I think everyone is
Right.
attracting kids. Part of the problem is obviously the stereotype perception of the public on what we do. I think that's an impact. I think the amount of training that really takes to be a lifeguard anywhere
Right,
at
right,
anybody's
right,
beach,
right.
and the right mindset, and I think people are shying away from that. If they can go make their own hours at some business, which some
Well-
of them do, say, "Oh, I'm only going to work 3 hours a day," and,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
so
Or
on.
I'm only going to work 10 hours a week so I can
Well,
still
what-
collect
what-
unemployment.
Right.
What do you guys? What? So you're
Yeah, a
so.
lot of people were doing that.
Yeah, no, a lot
over
of
the
people
past
Oh,
year.
you get paid. Well, what do you guys like for starting pay? I don't even know
I
what's
think-
what's our starting pay? Does anybody know?
We started,
For a
I
rookie.
think, at 15 this year.
I did. We
I don't even
what-
remember.
I
I
think
think last.
For years we were a little bit
14 or
behind,
15.
so we're coming up to 14, I think. I don't know what this pay scale yet. We're still working on that for this. coming
Everybody's
summer,
going through the
but
same
Has that
thing.
been an
Right.
issue for you recruiting guards?
I
Like,
think
oh, I could go to
recruiting-
Seaside Park and make more money. Why would I come here?
Well, that
you know?
was part of the problem for a number of years. But now I think we're in the competitive market, if you will. Part of it is our location again, geographically. You can run into town, take your break, hop off your stand, run in to get.
But
You
pizza.
gotta drive
I get-
further to get
Right.
into
I
work
think-
every
I
morning,
tell you,
farther coming
Our
back
work
home.
schedule.
I'll go home and grab my laundry on my break.
Right,
sometimes.
right. So
I think
3 blocks away.
No,
my guys, they're not doing that. They're
no. I actually think that pay is only is important, but it's one component. Like we've been paying I don't for lower than that for a while, but they work a long amount of time. What's interesting about your beach, if you say you're paying $13-14 an hour, but you start at May, Memorial, and you go to the end of September, a lifeguard can make a lot of money.
Right.
But my thing is that we're coming up to all of this. We talked about this, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but it's not just they can make more money other places. I think a lot of people are realizing it's the job is a job. It's
grueling.
We don't not say it's too bad because we don't get anybody to listen. But no, it takes a certain
right.
But here's the thing, though, Chip. You could how many people's we talk about everybody in this room here. We've legitimately saved at least one person's life.
Right.
That's a unique thing.
Right.
And
I think that's a draw for some people. And I think the athletic and the environment working on the beach and so on. But, the other flip side of that people don't see is it's pouring rain. We're out there. I mean, everybody thinks it's sunny and fun. And
I've been sitting up on the back of the chair, hugging my umbrella.
And freezing cold. The water's freezing cold. So I think there's that piece of it. I think, as much as lifeguarding has evolved, because I'll tell you, you guys are probably started, and Mike, you would probably agree, in a much more professional mode than when we started. When we first started, the training was not
wasn't as organized,
and it wasn't
as organized. It wasn't as organized.
It wasn't your water. We now are watermen professionals. Back then your training, you went through training, but it wasn't as organized. It wasn't as modeled.
A lot of beaches were doing kind of different things. And
there was no USLA. There was no USLA when we started.
Nothing like standardized it
But
across.
there was no USLA started. I don't know, 80, 81.
Somewhere in there, right?
There was no USLA to follow. There was no flags.
Right.
You did your own thing.
When we trained, they just wanted you to be tough. That was their thing. You just have to be tough because you have to go out and surf. You have to, pick people up. You have to deal with it. Just the medical piece alone. I mean, I remember when I first started pulling, so we used to have the lines with the kegs. Talk about evolution.
Is that why we call them cans? Because they used to look like cans?
Actually,
they were
that's
metal.
true. They were metal.
Wow.
They were made of tin. In 52, they made a tin. That's where it came from. There's a great museum down in, I think, Virginia, Norfolk.
Right.
Lifeguard.
We had Dr. Discus in here. We had Billy.
We should get in contact from someone from that museum.
But remember we had Billy in here?
Awesome.
He talked about there was fiberglass cans, and
which were probably heavy
and metal ones.
Right.
And I think the metal ones he was saying were the rope can and the loose ones were
Imagine getting smacked. Have you ever been smacked in the back of the head with that? Bringing it in?
Yeah.
Not fun.
But we had the kegs and marked the swimming area. And so you had these ropes that went out into the water with a dead man on the beach and an anchor. And you had actual beer barrels that were, kegs on the lines. And I remember this one woman, she took a header into the can and she split her. Blood all over, blood all over me. And you didn't think about that stuff back then.
No. How do you guys, so we, we're talking about the belts, years ago and the evolution. So, in Seaside, we, and like probably most beaches, we got the rope can, a loose can goes out and a rope follows. I mean, Atlantic City, they have a loose can than a boat. What's your guys' protocol? Like, how do you make
situation? I love the line. I'm a big fan of the line.
Right.
But if you're going, in a situation to do, a short 20-yard swim, and then the line isn't
right.
In my opinion, practical. It pulls people off the stand, and less eyes on the water. But I'm a proponent of the lines. We use every stand has a minimum of 2 torps, a line box. Some have a paddle board or a kayak. Some stands have both. Some every couple of stands there's a boat.
You don't use, I mean, do you guys actively use your boats for like patrolling or going out, you know?
Yeah, we do. We use them just when they're not damaged. So it's you know, it's difficult. That's a maintenance item, and there's
I was
a-
going to
a
say they're
thing.
probably expensive
How
to
many
maintain. Yeah.
they're not as expensive as a jet ski or quads or things like that to
Yeah.
maintain. It's just
Mhm.
people don't know how.
Okay.
So for example, like you know how to fix a boat?
I have no idea how to
many
fix a
years you
boat.
been on the beach?
This will be my
Right.
ninth summer.
Right.
Yeah, but I
you-
can.
I actually
you-
thought about buying
can
one
you-
and trying
right.
to learn how to fix it
Right.
myself.
Can you
as a
fix a
kid.
surfboard? You know how to do that?
I could probably come closer to figuring that out than a boat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I
So
fix
back again, when you started on the beach, they taught you all those things.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
that's
Oh,
it, you
yeah.
know?
You guys, especially
So
with
like
the,
you're like the philosophy
tell
back
you.
then, it sounds like it's like you're in charge of your stand and everything
Yeah.
that goes on
Yeah.
here.
You were,
and-
and the senior guard was.
Mhm.
And that's the thing. I think it's pretty standard tradition across the board. Your senior guards are, you know, the
Yeah.
rookies are assigned to senior guards to help mold them and
That's
train them.
that's a really good point that we, you know, we knew how to take care of our boats. We knew how to
Mm-hmm.
fix our stuff because there was nobody else to do it. Let me just stop, go back with one thing, because this is an important thing that you just said. And I want to make these young guys hear it here and also at our audience. And
Our 6 concurrent listeners.
6, well, that's good. Yeah. Listen, we got, you know,
We're getting somewhere.
with regard to rope can and loose can, you know, we have this dogma. Like some people are like, you got to do this, you got to do this. But you make a good point. And there are times where I have just swam out a rope
Yeah.
that as the initial thing, based on the situation.
I've done that before too.
Or,
yeah.
and or no rope and just the loose, and never put out at the rope can. And I think that when you start to get pigeonholed and say you got to send out a loose, you got to send out a rope, you start really you're wasting. You know,
you lose something. That's an interesting point.
so I
one
want
of
to
the
get your
things-
expand on
my
because you know
opinion
you
is
have a lot. You have a
one
lot
of
of
the-
experience. You know,
One of the first things we train the guards is I tell them right off the bat, I need thinkers.
Yep.
I
Mhm.
need people
oh,
who
where
can
did we hear that
think-
before?
think their way. It's one of the first things in our first
Not from you, Catch.
you
Wow.
know,
Yeah, right.
Our first sit down with them once they're hired and we start the training is I need thinkers. Just because we say this is the way you make a rescue, you know, it could fall apart. You know, you're out there
Yes,
and you
situation.
think you're
Yeah.
going
It's
for
it's dynamic.
And then it turns into
Two,
two,
it's
three,
three,
or
four,
multiple.
five.
Right.
So we, in the training process, we try to give them scenarios, and part of the training, I don't want to go too far down the road in case anybody's trying out, but there is,
Want them to still be surprised a little bit.
The culmination, let's say, of their training is, how do I want to say this?
Wait, maybe
RKT. We call it RKT. It's a rookie knowledge test.
Okay.
So they, before they get to that practical, let's say a practical aspect of what they've experienced in their training, they also do a written test. So they have to do a written test on everything that we've taught them in our manual and things like that. And then they go out and they do a practical, which is basically problem
Yeah.
solving.
You're very tuned into the psychological game of
Yeah.
what lifeguarding is, and
Yeah.
as a leader, that's super important. And I wanted to ask you, because did you work for only 2 other captains, or how many?
No, I worked for 3 other captains. I first started at Lavalette. It was the captain was Dick Hoffman.
Okay.
Then it was Jim Cresbaugh. And then I left and I was down with Jimmy. So I was under 3.
What are some of the
captains.
most important leadership lessons you learned from working under those guys?
That's a good question.
It is. That's a
yes,
very good
that's what I'm
question. I
here
think
for.
I
Thank
learned.
you.
Yeah, see, he comes up with a go. He, you know,
He
he
sent me,
says
he sent me a
it.
Google Doc of
Right.
all his questions for you.
You need a pay
earlier
raise.
today.
Pay raise.
I don't get paid.
I think I learned something from all of them. I think one of the things, flexibility in your thinking, which is one of the things I try to impart to the kids. You have to problem solve. You know, just because you've done it this way every time, things fall apart. I think focus is another thing. I think training is another one. That was a big thing when we were at Lavalette.
Yeah,
That
Cres was
kinda-
brutal. Yeah. We
he
trained
was-
and trained and
he was,
trained.
he was a good captain. He
Yeah.
trained hard.
Just want to go back because I want to give him an accolade. I know some people, but you know, I remember because there were tournaments and we would train with the boat in and out of the boat, turning the boat around. I mean,
Right.
just every day, day in day, and the little things, just getting into the water with the can. Everything was dissected down with Krez,
Right.
and I really like that.
Right.
Because
Yeah, I think that, and that's, he was great. He was a good captain, and he taught us a lot in terms of that, breaking things down and just drilling. I think one of the things that I got from Jimmy Hanchu, who's a good friend of mine, is when I first came to Island Beach, I think my eyes, I call it the awakening, because you referenced earlier the different types of town and your locals and
And
things like
Lavalette
that.
is one of
And
those more
Lavalette
local
is,
beaches.
a lot of the people are beach people.
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe it's changed, the dynamic or demographic has changed, with the people selling houses and so on. But, when I was at Lavalette, the northern end of the town, most of the town was residents. They own their homes. They were beach people. They grew up there. The southern half had some of the motels, so there was a little bit more transient piece. But when I went to Island Beach, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is a whole
Yeah,
different
yeah,
level.
yeah,
So-
yeah.
A little bit of a-
so we
a
went
little bit of
from-
a wake-up
No,
call.
no.
we swim our swimming areas. It's not like we have designated swimming, and I think Lavalette still does this, and not a knock at all.
Well, they lost their jetty, so it's
right.
changed. Everything's
So,
changed up because of the,
flag system where you swim between the flags and so on. We don't have that. We're, in terms of where the water or how the stands are set up and the layout is more like California. People are going pretty much
everywhere.
You
We
simply
have-
like you don't have the space for it. Similar
Right.
to us, you can't
Right.
you can't block off 3 blocks, even
Right.
if those
Yeah.
3 blocks constitute
So-
a rip current and a gully feeding that
Yeah,
rip
right.
current.
You
So
can't-
we
you can't move a
designate,
stand.
right. We will designate areas, like there's a surfing area, there's boogie board areas, and so on that way. And if we have to shut water down, we have signs that we'll post, and the guards stand there, and their function is to just keep that
Mhm.
that rip area clear. But for the most part, it's a continuous swimming area. So
see, I'm
That's-
gonna give you another accolade, because one thing that we all, State Park is huge, and as a supervisor, I can see when you talk about the house, I could see a day where it's crazy. You got Taisha Shoal, you got thousands and thousands of people, you got the trucks all down there, and you only have a certain amount of resources. And if not, and like on our beach, it's not just one rescue, it's 3 rescues, it's an injury, it's 5 lost kids, it's people passed out in the back of the beach, and you got to really go. I can only imagine the stuff that hammers down here. And I give you a lot of credit, because that's a huge area and responsibility.
I mean, the way
And
I'm picturing it is like it's basically what we do in Seaside Heights plus
Multiple.
the bay
Yeah.
plus
That's
all
how-
the way
right.
down
I've
the rest of
always-
the
And the
spot.
inlet,
I've
and the
always
inlet.
pictured Island Beach State Park as one of the only other beaches that is similar to Seaside Heights in that, like, there's no breakout between stands and stuff. That's
Right.
all. That's something
Mhm.
I noticed right away.
yeah, and it's not a knock in any way, shape, or form agast one of
No,
the
it's
things.
just it's different
I
a
think-
little bit.
I think being in lifeguarding 43, 44 years, one of the things, it's a camaraderie. We're a brotherhood. And so even though, in competition, we probably, but I think when it comes down to it, I know instances where other beaches have helped out other beaches and supported them on rescues and things like that. So,
and that comes a lot of
Um,
times in like late September.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, so I think there's a brotherhood here. So there's not a knock against any other beach. I think each beach is unique to its,
So,
each
well,
beach patrol.
I got, like I said, I'm giving you a lot of, I think everybody respects, your beach patrol, because you have to handle a huge crowd, and it could go sour. We noticed I know that place goes sour real quick. So let me ask you this. So we always ask everybody in here, and I know you didn't prepare for this, but can you give us at least one like crazy rescue? It doesn't have to be anything, either when you're back in the
A
day. or
crazy rescue
that
or
you
a
did.
funny lifeguard
Well,
story?
yes. How about I want to know like
do.
a really
Okay.
crazy rescue or big
all right,
one, or like
so-
something that was
so-
really,
one of personally for me, one of the obviously some heavy surf rescues and multiples where sandbars have given away, and we've had
Right.
50 people just go.
right.
But if the water's bad, we'll keep some guys on for a response in case of an emergency. And so this was 2005, I think it was. I think it was my first year as captain. We kept a few guys on. The ocean was kicking. It was like 6'8". It was just pumping. and we flying red. Nobody was even allowed to put their toes in the water. So we kept guys on, and our park is open after we go off duty. So we start, at some point, maybe I should walk you through our day.
Yeah,
but
so
we
yeah, it's-
start, so we kept guys on. We close up at 6 o'clock, and we kept, we keep 4 guys on and myself, just to kind of, if there was an emergency or whatever. So
right.
it started about, it was starting to get dusk. It was, I guess, late August or mid-August. And, it's starting to get dark, and we hear a call over the radio. Trenton Dispatch is trying to reach out to the park police that there's a boat sinking in the inlet on our side of the inlet with six people on it, and it's on fire.
It's not just sinking; it's on fire. Right,
So,
and
like-
and
So-
they got tubes of Ebola that
Right,
they
right.
stole from the Newark airport, and they're going. So go ahead.
So anyway, so we're saying, well, let's go check it out. You know? So we go down, and again, it's in the back part of the park. It's in the most remote area of the park. So we
Right.
go all the way down. We're off the road. We go up over this sand dune it's about a quarter mile north of the inlet, and we go into the back part of the park where there used to be this thing called Party Island, and we see this boat, and we see smoke coming off of it and flames and all, and it's getting pulled in on an incoming tide, so it's getting sucked back in towards the bay.
Yeah.
So, and we don't see anyone else responding.
No Coast Guard.
No,
Nothing.
nothing. So we're like, okay, let's go. So we grab our stuff. We chase that boat 45, 50 minutes. We had to run through the thicket, swim across these little channels, get up and run. We got all the way back to the west side of Sedges. You can't get any further west, and we just jump in the water and start swimming out to this boat. And we were probably about 50 yards away from the boat. And who do you think pulls
The
up?
Coast
Coast
Guard.
Guard. Finally.
Marine police.
Yeah.
They plucked the guys off the boat, and
I would have been like, screw them, go get me.
So, but that's only that's the prep of the story.
Oh my god.
That's
So we swim in, we're laughing and joking. Oh, we wish we got out to the boat. And so we have to now come back. And by this time it's dark. We left the lights on the truck so we could find our way back. So we're about, I guess, 2/3 of the way back. And I see another truck come up over the dunes, park police. It was his first night on duty. He'd never been in the park before or whatever. And he thinks he's helping us out by turning off the lights in the truck. So,
So you couldn't find
so we couldn't find the truck. So it took us, I don't know, it took
another
us quite some
hour.
time.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Oh
And the
my
mosquitoes
God.
are
You playing
bad
some
back
overtime
there.
that
we're-
night.
the
we're-
flies.
Listen, you
Didn't
guys,
even alive.
the mosquitoes
So-
are so bad back there.
So we get back to the truck and we're laughing about it, joking. We go off the 23 chute, which is right by the end of the road. And as we're going off, we see a Durango in the middle of the chute, buried to the axles. And this woman's standing outside of it. So trying to shorten the story, one of the guys gets out of the truck and starts talking to her. She speaks broken English. He gets out of her that she was going on the beach to pick up her boyfriend who went kayaking. So we thought that he went over the 815 path
Right.
with his kayak and he was too lazy to carry it back over. So as we start driving that way, she's screaming, no, no, no. He gets out of her that he went in on the bay side, which is our kayak area, and decides he's going to go out through the inlet and come in on the ocean
Right. To beat her with her car.
in 6-8 foot surf.
Wow.
And if you know the inlet, some of
Yeah.
the boaters, when it's 6-8 foot on the beach,
Right.
it's like 10-12 easy in the mouth of the inlet.
Right.
Oh,
And this
so
is and it's
is it-
dark
yeah.
already.
Is
And
that
it's
just
dark
because
and it's
everything's
dark
getting
already.
funneled into it?
It's pitch, because the waves break in all
Yeah.
different directions. So
Right.
it's pitch black. We go flying down to the inlet and we start asking all the fishermen. And we come across this one guy who's sitting in a lawn chair with a big can of Foster's. And he's just sitting there. We go, you see this guy? He's like, yeah. He goes, we yelled to him, don't go out. We were trying to get him. And he yelled back, fuck you.
And he just
kept
kept
going.
on going.
So he goes, what do you think I did? I went back to my truck. I got my beer. He said, because I knew it was going to get good.
Yeah, and just had to sit there watch.
Just sit back and watch the show.
Right. So we, two of us ran as far out, and it's precarious. It's when I say run, it took us a
Yeah.
long time to get as far as you can out on the rocks. And then it drops out,
Right.
drops below the surface and comes up by the light stanchion.
Right. There's
And
a yeah. It's
and the
a
waves are
submerged
breaking,
jetty,
right.
submerged jetty.
And there was a pole that was, I guess one of the storms had lodged into the jetty, and we were holding on to that because the waves are crashing
Oh,
and so
man.
on. So the guy I was with saw the kayak floating, I guess about halfway across the inlet, in the shadow of the lights. So
Wow.
I jump off the rocks, I start swimming out, and then I realize this isn't the best decision because there are boats coming in.
Right. And they
And
can't
they
see
can't
you.
see you. So I'm like, ugh. So anyway, I get the guy. He's unconscious.
He was floating in the water.
What saved this guy's life?
Yeah, life
it had
preserver.
nothing to do with me.
Right.
He didn't have a life jacket on. It was a sitting kayak. It wasn't even an ocean going
Right.
kayak. When he got out, he apparently got broached, lost his paddle, was thrashing about, managed to get somehow back to the kayak, and he put his hand through the carry loop of the
Oh, shit.
and went out.
It was just he was unconscious and he was
Floating face down, getting dragged back in the inlet with the kayak, and it was an incoming tide. So that's
Yeah.
the only thing that saved this guy's life.
Wow.
Wow.
So the guy I was with yells back that he
That's
you
all
know,
pitch dark now.
pitch
Yeah.
black. You can't see
Wow.
Jack. So the guy I'm with makes his way back. He yells, "We got him! We got him!" I swim him all the way in, so it's easier to get him across the rocks. But the best part of this story is the guy that was talking with the woman is in the truck, and when she heard that we found him, she jumps out of the truck and starts to run, and he grabs her. He's like trying to calm her down. Don't go, don't go. And she starts flipping out. He dead. He dead. I see the movie when they say that he's dead.
Wow.
So I think that was probably
Yeah.
the most, like I say, you got to be prepared. for
That's an
anything.
unbelievable
There's
story.
a lot
That's
of-
an-
there's a
that's-
lot of stages to
that-
that.
that's
There's
like-
a
that's like-
lot of
that's like-
different
And that's
things.
why
know,
it's
you,
my,
you're like in the
pinnacle.
best part of this story. And I'm like,
When he was like,
you
"Oh, that was
hit-
just the introduction."
I was like, you've already hit two climaxes of this story. Oh my god!
But everyone has those stories.
Yeah,
I
that-
mean, everyone
That's a
has
good one. I remember,
I don't
believe it or
have
not,
a boat on fire.
I remember you telling me that story
Yeah.
because I used to go down to State Park and like see Chip like once a year towards the end. I used to go to all the beaches, like see everybody. I was like the the Yenta going around.
What are
And,
you, the mayor of all? Jersey
Yeah,
Shore
well,
beach patrols?
we used to, we had the time to do that.
It's on
much, right?
everyone's
But-
payroll.
But I remember
I'm a ringer at this beach. I worked at Island Beach.
I kind of remember that story. That's a great story.
Yeah,
And
I
that,
think,
notice people who are on the podcast or other people, you can't understand, that area, that jetty, the power, the water coming in, it's rushing in probably,
the
5, 6 knots.
scariest thing about that
And
wasn't just the water; it was the fishing boats and the
Yeah.
boats.
And
coming
plus
in.
you get in the
They
rocks.
can't see him.
And the rocks, but
Yeah.
you get pushed onto a rock, hit your head, you're done.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that ain't no.
So I was told by Victoria Alvarez to ask you about the hammer story. But first, I think we should address some of these comments because this seems like a lot of your guys and girls hopping in the chat.
Okay.
Brandon McMahon
McMahon. He's a rookie with us.
says
this
hi,
year.
Cap. Tyler
Hey.
Sicoccio says the Fable burning boat rescue.
Yeah.
Olivia Elm says AO hi Tyler or AO Tyler. Not talking about me, but hi. And Gabby Romano hopped in as well. These all your guards.
these
That's
are your
awesome. Showing the
Yeah.
love. Showing the
Yeah.
love. Thank you,
Yeah.
Island Beach.
We're
but
getting.
I want to hear the hammer story.
All right, then we're gonna
Yeah.
because
Well,
we're
it
getting.
depends.
It's already. It's like we did an hour and 17 minutes. Just so you
Wow.
know, doesn't go quick, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
So
It
what do
does.
you want? You could say.
So just two things real fast. One is it depends on who you talk to, who lays claim to that. Because recently I was told somebody else is laying claim to my story. But
Oh,
That's not a cool
Oh,
story.
boy.
You do not
Oh,
steal.
boy.
You do
Oh,
not
boy.
steal the captain's story.
Well, he happens to be a good friend of
boy.
mine. So it just has to do with some surfers and their failure to cooperate. So
We'll leave it at
we-
that. Yeah.
we had to straighten them out.
Yeah.
That, for the record, it's my story. It was on
Yeah.
Trenton Avenue.
Okay.
Lavalette.
Okay.
Hey, one other thing, Chip. How many lifeguards you guys
All right,
average
so,
now?
real
Just-
quick,
just-
we're in the neighborhood of 80 guards. We have 80
Ooh.
guards. We typically have on staff 4 EMTs, non-COVID years.
So-
Last couple of years, we were a little short because of COVID.
Wow, that's a
Um,
big
we
crew.
s-
It's a good crew.
We start at 9:30. We have a morning meeting. Then we go up to the beach. We open up at 10. They're opening up by 10. Then we run training breaks. 10:30, we start half-hour training breaks. So we don't meet. That's one of the differences, I guess. We don't meet as a beach patrol and do a beach patrol workout in the mornings. We have our
You
morning
split out and
meeting.
everybody, yeah. that's
Right.
what we
And
do.
then we're developed into squads, or we're broken up into squads. So each guard is assigned to a squad. They're usually about 12 or 14 guards
To a
with
squad.
a sergeant. And they cover different areas. We rotate too. So each squad will sit a section of the beach for a week. So by the end of the summer, they've all seen the entire beach a couple of times.
And how many officers, like lieutenants, like, so each
So we
each
have-
have a squad? Yeah, I'm sorry,
Right.
go
So
ahead.
we have 4 sergeants who are assigned to squad. We have 2, let's say, relief sergeants for cover days off.
Right.
2 lieutenants, a north and a south, and myself.
No, but this,
and-
so you have in the, because I remember when I was there, you had the main beach, you had a north and a south tower, and then now you have the other tower, which is in Tyson Shoal. So you don't have, that's not a separate entity or
No,
south. So
there's
it's still like,
there's no physical tower there, like on
Okay.
the north and south. It's just
it's an extension of the South Beach
Right,
then.
right.
So everything's run out of the South Beach. So you,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, and then we'll sit. They get a half-hour lunch breaks. So we have 3 training breaks: 10:30, 11, and so on. Those are organized training breaks. So they'll meet at a stand and they'll either do an assigned workout or an assigned skill, neck and back, or something like that. And then in the afternoon, once lunch breaks are over and we get into our afternoon training break, that's more break of their own choice most of the time. Every so often we'll give them something to do, but they're allowed to swim, run, row, whatever. But they have to train.
And then what time you guys pack it in?
We pack it in at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Well,
6
each-
p.m.
So I got one other thing, and again, I don't want to, there's not a criticism but on our beach, we have to try to control the booze, and I know State Park has always been like a zero tolerance supposedly,
Right.
but now I hear they're at the concession, they
Yeah, I think,
alcohol.
yeah, there's a the Red Fox Grill, and a concession, as part of their contract a few years ago. They allowed them to sell. And to be honest, from a water safety standpoint, in the beginning, I was 100% against it. But they proved me wrong. The management runs a
Real
really
tight, nice
good,
ship.
tight ship operation. It's good. They're cooperative. So it's been actually pretty good. After work, we've actually gone
Down
there
here, have a
and
couple
food's
cocktails.
good.
Yeah, good.
Really
yeah.
good food.
We that's one of our biggest problems, in Seaside. I mean, we
yeah.
try to, there's, but we have this bunch of bars on the board. I mean, it's so easy. Well, but you got that too. So I was just
we
wondering.
have that, and we haven't had issues with that. That's like I said, that's been phenomenal. It's really the people bringing in their coolers, and because it's an island beach, you can bring your cooler out on the beach. You can bring,
It's not like people are going to the Red Fox to party all day.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. What were we gonna say, Tyler?
One, Mark McDermott wants us to ask you about the wave where you saw the bay. And they're all saying
yeah.
they want me to ask you about the wave where you saw the bay.
That was when I was in, I think that was Hurricane Gloria. I was
Okay.
in Lavalette working, and Joe Casino and I decided to go for a swim. Not our best decision.
Naturally.
Well, he's a hell of a swimmer.
Listen, let me
he
just jump.
fared a little better than I.
Listen, we all got sucked into going out with Joe.
Honest question though. Honest question.
Honest question. And for the record, Mark, I keep correcting you. It was not the bay. It was the church steeple at the end of Philadelphia Avenue.
Not quite the bay.
Not quite.
But okay, so I have a follow-up question for that and one more question for you.
And start rowing, Mark.
Yeah, work on that stroke.
Yeah.
How important do you think it is as an ocean rescue lifeguard to put yourself in those hurricane surf situations?
That's a good question. I'm older and wiser now, I think. And again, I think it's important. A quick story. My wife came home. She was working out. She was at the gym, and she said she took kickboxing one day, and she was all excited.
My mom does that. She loves
Right.
it.
So in the conversation with her, I was like, "How many times did you get hit?" And she was like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, you said you did kickboxing. How many times did you get hit?" And she said, "No, there was none of that." I said, "Then you didn't do kickboxing. You did aerobics." Right. So
Aerobics with
the
extra
analogy
steps.
is, if you're not used to getting hit in the face,
Yeah.
or you're not used to getting ragdolled in heavy surf, you know, it's an eye-opening experience. So I think it's important that they train. I think it's important that guys go out in surf conditions. But from a management and being older and wiser, I think we just need to be a little bit more cautious on how we do that.
You got to be
and
really,
so
it's
on.
because it's
Right.
like, and also from like a kind of public view, like we're shutting down the water, but then you see 10 lifeguards out in 10-foot surf. Like
Yeah.
what's going on?
Right.
there?
And
Well,
then,
we're
you know,
training.
then-
I always-
We're training.
to
we
them,
know that.
That was
but-
always one
to
of my
them-
favorite things when it was a red flag day and we're like walking out of the water with like fins on, just like playing around,
Right.
having a good time. It's like big surf.
right.
And everyone's
that's-
kind of like watching us. I'm like, don't
right.
don't go
But
there.
that's, again, it goes back to, you need to be prepared. The first time you're you're in a hold down for
Mhm.
some time. I mean,
It changes you.
So-
Yeah, it
so-
changes
so-
you.
I remember
you become
the-
wiser.
Yeah.
I think,
I've been there. I don't like being there.
that
Don't know
day,
if I'll
I'll
ever
tell you
put
what,
myself
you
there
had-
again.
I specifically remember the first time I was out, like as a rookie with a red can and fins, and I saw like an 8-foot wave, and I'm like right in the impact zone, and I was just like, oof. And that thing took me
Right. I was out
like
with that was Gloria. I was out with Joe, and that was a wake-up call for me because we just jumped in the water and swam. And now it's a little more methodical, looking for the seams,
Mhm.
the rib,
Find the rib.
those kinds of
So-
things.
so-
And it's like humbling too. It's important, like you said, to get your ass beat by the ocean. So like
right.
maybe that
Right.
dude in his cargo shorts and guinea tee, maybe I shouldn't let him go out in that surf
Right.
because I know how it feels like
Right.
to
And
not
you
be
you got
Ego checks-
you got to
ego
get
checks
out
are
there
important.
in Lavalette. And there's two different oceans, and I don't want to keep on going with this, but there's the northeasters that we used to go in all the time. And I remember when we were in Lavalette in the Northeast, because we would work out every day. So in the Northeast, it was so sloppy. We would take our fins, goggles, and run up north to the North Beach, all the way north, and go out and swim all the way down. And it was actually fun. And we
Yeah.
would go all the way down. And we do that all the time. And we didn't think twice about it.
Right.
I mean, I used to be like, come on, why don't we just like, this is a pain in the ass. It was almost like, I
He
remember
wanted his
days,
coffee.
but I remember days sitting out there swimming. I'm out like half of whatever, how far you are. I'm like, what am I doing this? Am I really getting anything out of this? But then you have the hurricane surf, which is a whole different animal. And that's why I try to get everybody out there, because, and I tell them, get out there and get past the break and just feel the power. And the other thing, you make a good point, Chip, and everybody, I like getting lifeguards out there because then you set up for the day and you know how bad it is. Because there's sometimes there's 2-foot swells and you're like, but it's a hurricane swell.
Right.
And you're like, oh, it's no big deal. And you get out there and you're like, holy
Well,
shit.
one of the
You can't
most
really
one of the
swim
most
you can't, like,
important.
swim under the waves.
I know.
Yeah,
one
They're
of
just so deep.
yeah,
You can go as deep as you can.
the
grab
washing
sand.
machine goes
Yeah.
like 10 feet
And
down.
I feel like that, like I've swum out in hurricane, and I've just been like the white water, just never.
Yeah.
So I'm just in white water
I
for
think-
like.
Yeah, and the fact that you can't get a rhythm,
Yeah.
you have to
Mhm.
get used to that because it
You
panic
gotta-
sets in fast.
You got to use your head with big ocean. And we could talk about a whole show of how to navigate
I think
getting
we
out
should do that
in
soon.
a hurricane surf, because
Yeah.
you need to go out on a run. I mean, I've taken jet skis out, I've taken boards out. You could get out, and even boats.
Well,
but
and that's the
but-
thing. Like,
and
you
even
realize,
northeasters,
like once
it's
you
technique.
get to the point where you can read the water, you realize like
Yes.
even though that surf is scary, there is a way to
Way
get
to
out
get
there
out.
safely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much every
Yeah.
time.
And
Unless
we
it's-
have done
unless
it.
it's
We-
in,
But
Northeast day, then
a
it's like
couple
really
of factors
tricky.
go along with that. One is being able to read the water.
Yeah.
And two
Yeah.
is being in condition.
Yes.
And I think
The
that's what a lot of the public, because all the time when we're shutting
right,
down
right,
water,
right, right.
I've been swimming. Yeah, well, yes, you have, but
Right.
how
Yeah,
conditioned are you?
you've been swimming
Yeah,
once a week for maybe
Right.
10 years in this water.
Well,
I always enjoyed the first like red flag day workout because you could tell all of the senior guards when we're all
Yeah.
lined up in front of a sandbar, and then Cap blows the whistle, and all the younger guards go straight, and all
You
the senior
really-
guards are all running up the
Right.
beach.
I
A
remember
little
one
bit
time
jumping into the water, and
Right,
then
using the current.
going
Yeah,
right
you
out.
bring that up, Adam. I remember we were doing it. It was one of those just eerie, like you show up, it's drizzling, you can see the waves like cresting over the sand dunes, and you're just like, even at like
Yeah,
7 years, I'm just like, oh, I know he's making us get in that
this
water.
workout is
So-
gonna be brutal.
So we get out there, and I like to like look at the rookies like as we're walking up on a day like that, like we're going in there, right, dude? And they'll be
Yeah.
and you get to see what they're made of. But I remember one time, like you just pointed out, we're all lining up, and I'm like looking at the water. I'm like, all right, it's like pretty hard south sweep. I'm gonna hop in the water 20, 30 yards south, and I look, and the buoy's dead in front of us. And I look at everybody. I'm like, I'm going in down there. You guys should probably follow me.
Oh, you gave
sprint,
them warning.
They all
You
sprint straight into the water. And I'm not the greatest swimmer. I'm a good swimmer because I've taken my time to learn it. But when I showed up on the beach, I was in the back of the pack in every workout. So I get in the water and I jog down to the water line. I'm taking my time, just stroking it out there. I get there 50 yards before everybody,
Right.
like
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
high school swimmers. And I'm like,
You
you guys
are-
probably should have listened to me. I'm going to do that again on the next loop. And then they all followed me.
You are much kinder than me because I usually let them go first, and then when they're not looking, I go. So I don't give them any tips.
These guys, I make them do the buoys. In fact, somebody a couple years ago, at night they went out and cut the buoy because they were so. Because I used to go buoy swim, and they hated that.
He would make us do buoys, and I'd be like, I'm gonna go grab some sand just to see how deep it is, and I'd follow get to the anchor, like walking in a little bit.
Right.
But
I've never done that. That's creepy for me.
About the point with
You don't
people,
you don't like going down there?
No,
you don't like going to the bottom?
Yeah.
I love it. I love taking the rookies out.
You get to the layer of seaweed.
I remember once I got to a layer of just blackness, and I was just like, I was talking like so much trash to the younger guards about how they couldn't get to the bottom. I was like, I gotta do it, and I like took 2 more, got to the bottom, like my eyes,
and you got to bring the sand up.
I gotta throw it at them.
They'll vouch. Some of those rookies on there, they'll vouch. They have to do it. So.
But the one point you made though, I've always said this to these guys, and I said generally the public, they overestimate their ability, and underestimate the power of the ocean.
Right.
And that's a mindset that a lot of people have, like you said, and
it's an easy trap. That's like I said, when I went out that time with Joe, it was just,
it don't look that bad sometimes.
8 years, and I was like, and Neptune will wake you up very quickly.
Neptune.
I just sent you a video on Instagram a couple days ago of a lifeguard at
I was trying to pull it up earlier, but I couldn't.
Yeah, there was a lifeguard. There's a video that came out last week of a lifeguard at the North Shore just like tearing into 2 surfers, and like
he was ripping them up.
Why? What was he ripping them up?
Because
we should get that. We should, not now.
They were on like the biggest break on the North Shore, and they are clearly 2 like novice surfers. Kooks with big boards, with just crappy board shorts, and to paddle out on like the biggest breaks on the North Shore, you have to check in with the guards, and they have to okay you to paddle out.
Right. You put their lives in jeopardy.
Yeah, and the video came out of people criticizing the guard because he was like tearing into them and pointing out how they're not
right.
To be fair, he was using some choice language.
But like, how many?
Frustrating.
How many novice servers an experienced guard at the North Shore has probably dragged
out
of that ocean.
Right. Of course.
He's probably that takes an emotional toll on him. That's what was probably coming out.
That goes back to Mike's point about them underestimating the conditions and their abilities. And that's probably the biggest obstacle to what we do personally is convincing the public on those big days. Like even when we're not in the water and we have it closed. They argue with you, and they I
used to have friends from college texting me like in the summer on like a red flag.
Why can't we swim?
Yeah, and I'm like, don't overestimate your ability. I'm
like, I
was forced to go into that this morning, and I swim in the ocean like every single day in the summer, and I was like, I want nothing to do with that, dude.
And it sounds like a cliche, but like it's not a pool,
right?
And people really think it is.
That's like the biggest. That's the biggest tourist.
There are also issues that come into play. Medical issues. I mean, now in maturity, some of the things that I did when I was younger as a guard, I'm like,
well, we're getting old, Chip. We can't. I mean, you and I mean, like you're
getting old.
Well, listen. But it's funny you talk about Joe Casino because Joe's an animal. Joe's like an unbelievable athlete. And I remember we were down in Florida once. I actually went down for I don't know where we were down there for a tournament or something, and it was we went out in this big ocean, and maybe it was canceled, and I remember there was no lifeguards around, but we went out and we were going to ride waves, and it was coral down there. It was like really bad. And I remember I got dumped in and I hit my arm, and I was like, cut up and everything. I'm like, you got to be really careful, especially when you go, what it is you got to know the beach. Like we go, we know what Seaside Heights is. We know what State Park is, kind of bottom. When you go down to the Caribbean or somewhere else, you really got to be careful because it's a whole different break. It's a whole different phenomenon there going on. And there is not a lot of people to save you, but you have to really know.
With the younger guys, one of the best things, like Joe was a great teacher, model, whatever for me. And he wasn't on the beach much longer than I think a year longer, but just as we've come through the ranks, what I've learned from watching him and talking with him and talking with other guards is just, that's educational,
situational awareness too, but anyway, listen, it's been, I think we should, we
Yeah, I got one more question.
Oh,
Short
okay.
question.
Okay.
We call it a lifer on our beach. Catchmar would be a lifer. I'll probably end up being a lifer. Adam pretends he's going to get out at some point.
I'm a weekend warrior at this point.
When did you realize that this was something you were going to do for as long as possible?
That's a good question. I think I'd like to say my first day.
I
think I grew up on the beach, and so on. So I was always a beach person. But once I got there, and got to meet the guys and the training, I played sports growing up, so the athleticism piece. I think I knew right from the beginning. Made some career choices as a result of wanting to stay on the beach. So
yeah, now you run one of the biggest, best beach patrols around. So that's pretty. It's pretty impressive. So yeah, we all. It's nice too because we all. We all started together. Chip, me. I know Handshoe, but Joe. Now Jack's the captain there.
right.
Rob Connors, who's our captain, I gave him the test. So it's a good community. I think we all, like you said, we all know each other. We all know when the shit hits the fan that what the other person,
that's what we're trying to do with this podcast is like strengthen that discourse between. Like
yeah. That's one thing that Chip. This is really good. This is really like bringing a lot of people together.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are kind of apprehensive of saying stuff, but when you first of all, I like what we're doing here is that we're showing people out there that this is not we're just idiots. This is a serious job. And by the way, I just want to give everybody a shout out. Next week we're going to have John Chip Moore.
Yeah.
And he's an attorney with USLA. He's going to be he's going to come on. Yeah. And we were talking a little bit about all this stuff. And but I say, are you a lifeguard or an attorney? What do you put in your card?
I want to point something else out.
But watch that episode next week.
Chip, this says a lot about who you are as a leader because we have 21 people watching us right now, and I don't think we've ever had before tonight more than 15
right
live.
Yeah, but this
is
a
new record.
We broke the record. We broke 20 viewers for the first time on our 20th episode.
So this is our 20th episode.
I'll say thanks, guys, and your pay raises are set for next year.
Yeah.
Everyone who tuned into this podcast gets a pay raise.
Listen, everybody
who commented. Everyone who commented.
I think they're gonna want that in writing.
And listen, hey, do us a favor, whoever's watching us, subscribe. We want to get up to 100,000 people. So
100 grand,
100,000. No, but subscribe, hit the bell. Yeah. But listen, Chip, again,
my pleasure.
It's been I've known you for so many years. I think that it's unbelievable what you do. It's a big job over there. And I know I've never heard, anybody, everybody loves that place who works there. I can tell you, I love the air conditioned, rooms, but and you're in the competition and everything. So listen, you're welcome. Absolutely come back again.
I would love to talk to you about
we got so many things
I would love to pick your brain about what you know about the Coast Guard's role on Island Beach and the U.S. Life Saving Service, because I know that Island Beach played a very important role in that, especially in the beginning. So I would love to get you back on to talk about that.
Have a tower.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
So that's it.
My pleasure. I enjoyed it. And
this is awesome.
We'd love to get you back.
Oh, we gotta have you sign the can up there. That's
when you leave.
Actually, Joe Casino and Ben Smith came up with that idea to have our guests.
We had Joe Jr. here. Right. It was a good show. So listen, everyone, thank you for tuning in. And
Tyler Sicocchio says, "Sergeant, pay for us all."
Keep dreaming.
Well,
you have to earn the stripes first.
We're very happy everybody tuned in, and watch us next week. Next week's going to be a really informative show. We're going to talk about a lot of different things.
There's a lot coming up.
He's going to fill us in on the USLA position on boat, on clearing the beach, things that we talked about. We don't have to get into it now, but I think after he comes on, if you want to either link in or come back or just keep the discussion going, because we all need to. I think that's one thing that this show could do is really disseminate the information, and we could all become better. So anyway, Tyler, you want to take us out? Listen, everyone,
follow us on lg.association. Shoot us an email at Dr. Catchmar at iCloud.com. We should get a Lifeguards off-duty email at some point. We'll figure that out.
As the marketing director, I agree.
Pseudo marketing or de facto
marketing.
Like I said, we have to meet with the board for that. I'm Tyler.
So meet with the board.
That's Adam. That's Dr. Michael.
Wait. We got
Katzmar.
Adam here. This is Adam.
This is Chip Bruce. This is
This
me.
is Chip Bruce.
This
Thanks,
is
guys.
Chip Bruce.
and I am
And
Dr.
it was
Michael
awesome.
Katzmar.
Yeah. Are we doing the intro for the outro again?
I don't know how that works.
Yeah,
we
why
can do it.
not,
Listen,
right?
listen.
Intro
But
for the
before
outro.
people, give us an email if you want to contact us. Come on the show. Somebody wants to come on. It's drkatzmar at icloud.com.
Yep.
Shoot us a letter. An email. And
Yeah.
give us your opinions. We like stories. We would like to get anybody on here who really wants to come, and we want to get some. Hopefully females on here who've been on the beach and have some really good stories. We want to get their perspective. We'd love that.
If you love the ocean and you feel like you've got an interesting story, we'd love to talk to you. You don't even necessarily have to be a lifeguard. If
So
you're a surfer.
So we're going to try now this intro to the egg show. So
We're gonna do intro.
Well, I
for
don't
the
know how
outro
it's going to
again.
work. I don't know how it's going to work.
We were here for 2 hours. We could have just made an outro. It's okay.
Yeah,
Show
so-
it.
do it.
All right, we're back to say
Yeah,
goodbye.
listen. Don't edit it. We're sorry. This is live, so now we're not going to do that.
Oh
So
my
we-
God! Thank
What
God
do
we
you
came
guys?
back for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's that? What happened?
He has to do stay out, stay alive.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. Sorry, we forgot about that. So we have it.
you just got the job.
It's
out of it.
funny. The Navy SEALs, they say stay awake, stay alive. And I think so. We have when we close the beach in Seaside at the end, we have a whole thing that we say. These beaches are closing for the day, and blah blah blah. And then at the end, we say stay out and stay alive. So we'd appreciate if you would throw that out for us, and that's how we end the show.
Chip Bruce from Island Beach. Stay out, stay alive.
Stay out, stay alive. I love that. All right, thank you very much.
The views and opinions expressed on Lifeguards Off Duty are those of its hosts and guests exclusively. They do not represent any entity, organization, or municipality.